I'm hitting record. By the way, I'm gonna
Go
switch
ahead
to
and turn on this
lights
one.
off. We're gonna, okay.
Every time.
All right, how do I get it on?
Oh, it's the projector one.
Yeah. Oh, projector
Projector two.
It says it's on. Okay, it's coming on. Okay.
Projector two. It needed to go to the podium.
Yeah, I got it. It's like trial and error. How are y'all this morning? Good. So I haven't seen you.
Oh.
Well, I guess we've
I
got
said
a
it's
couple
still
minutes.
not
All right, we'll wait a couple minutes. Are y'all ready for the weekend? To take a break? This is to work on all your work, right? To catch up on projects and
Yeah,
papers.
and to read another 3 papers on physical activity and educational research and all of that stuff, right? You guys have got so much.
This time's pretty hectic. It's a busy time. And is anyone in here an education major? I don't think we asked that on Monday. No. So what are most of you? Science? Math? Health sciences? Y'all are like my online students. Business? A couple of business. What am I forgetting? Fine arts? Liberal arts?
Radiology,
What else? What am I forgetting?
computer science, business.
Yes, a business. Okay. All right, good. So just a couple of weeks, huh? Next week and then a part of a week? Are most of you doing finals online then afterwards? Yeah. Come on, Lynn.
So really quick while everything's arriving, I sent an email out this morning about your scheduled times for your presentations. So there are 2 presentation times, Wednesday or Friday, and I've indicated which is Thursday. But on Monday, we'll talk about this more about what you'll need to do to prepare and so forth. And we're going to be in Legacy for that, but I just sent that email just before I came, and we'll figure out stuff on
Okay, all right. We'll go ahead and start. So on Wednesday, y'all learned a little bit more about the about quantitative and qualitative research, right? You took a quiz and did a Padlet. So can anyone tell me the differences between those two? What's the difference? A couple of differences between quantitative and qualitative. What's quantitative have? So it's usually numbers, lots of statistics. I mean, you can do like, let's say low level, but you can do like ANOVAs and things like that, or you can do more powerful structural equation modeling, stuff like that. What about numbers of people? How do qualitative and quantitative usually differ? Like sample size.
Qualitative would be smaller.
Right, yeah, because qualitative, and you know, sometimes it's just because it's focused on a small number of kind of unique individuals, but also it takes a long time. I know when I was working on my dissertation, I really wanted to do like interviews and qualitative, and I was hoping to be done in 4 years. And my advisor said, if you're okay staying 5 or 6, go ahead and choose a qualitative project. But if you want to be out in 4 years, then you need to stick to quant because it's much quicker. All the analysis and triangulation and all of that takes a while and qualitative, but it does provide a much richer amount of data, type of data. So, but what are some problems? So quantitative, you can generalize it. Quantitative, there's like large sample sizes, but what's the problem? What does quantitative not give you? Yeah, I didn't tell you really the whys. I'll answer a lot of those questions. So it's great because you can generalize it to all these people. But, you know, again, educational research is about people reflecting or people telling you about their thoughts and feelings. It's not a blood test. It's not a brain scan. So it's not definitive. So we're counting on people's beliefs about themselves or self-perceptions, or even maybe a flawed response to some type of Likert scale, right? Because if you're not feeling good that day, maybe you're like, oh, here's 5, 5, 5, 5, 5, all the way down, right? So that's the problem. So qualitative can kind of help with that because it provides this like explanation. So recently, and really like in the 2000s, so I know that it's probably, way long ago for y'all, but mixed methods has become kind of a new thing. I guess across disciplines, I think definitely in the social sciences, but definitely in education. And so there are several researchers, they actually started a mixed methods journal in 2008. And so now mixed methods is the perfect blend of both. It gives you both. So you can have the large numbers, you can have these big generalizable samples, and then you can also have an explanation about why. So we're going to talk about several different models of mixed methods that we use in education. These are various research questions. And then Dr. Gupta is going to show you on the Google site, we have different, like the images. I'm a picture person. I use imagery a lot in my teaching and my learning. And so we'll show you like kind of the pictures of what the different models look like. But first we're going to talk about a convergent design. So convergent means that you're gathering both quantitative and qualitative simultaneously. So some of the research I conduct is in procrastination. And it's like such a good like hearty topic of conversation, right? I tell people, oh yeah, I research procrastination. They're like, oh my gosh, let me be your subject. But what we found is something unique and something that will probably conflict with your views on procrastination. So we're going to have you participate in a research study. So you're going to need a piece of paper, or even if you want to do it on notes on your phone, but I want everyone to go to the Google site that we gave you, which again is the, it's bit.ly Honors Pros 20, or you can scan this QR code. So go ahead and go to that. And you're first going to respond to Likert items. So if you go to the Mixed Methods Research tab at the top,
The first one here, and the mixed methods one, not the second.
yeah, you might go back to, I think some of them aren't even on the site yet.
Okay.
Go back to the main. So go to the site first, and then once you're there, yeah, maybe you can, can you scan it from where you are? At the very top, you'll see mixed methods, so go
Does
to
anybody
that.
need any help?
And then towards the bottom, it says procrastination survey. Yeah, so click on the first one that says procrastination survey. So all the way to the bottom. You're good. All the way to the bottom. There you go. So when you go to mixed methods, go all the way to the bottom and you'll see procrastination survey. So there's two of them there. We're going to do the first one first. So you're just going to number 1 to, I forget what it goes to. So right here, that's what you click on. It's a Google Doc. And so it's a Likert scale. So you're going to just give a number. So you can number 1 to, how many is it?
5. No, how
it's more
many?
than 5.
12. No, I
Yeah.
thought you were asking the Likert scale.
So number 1 to 12, and then you can just write your number, whatever it is, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So you're choosing the extent to which you disagree or agree. And then there's instructions at the bottom about how to tally up your score. So I'll give you a couple of minutes to do that. If you need help, just raise your hand and I'll come help you find it. Oh, you're good.
She,
Oh, you're done. It's honors, so S, and then PRES. That doesn't work. Are you okay?
Yes,
Perfect, yeah, the first one. 12 of them, yes. This is strong. Yeah, but I think this is a lot quicker than that.
Yeah.
So,
And then this is also going to indicate.
Oh.
Hey,
Yeah, and this.
it's on view.
Yeah, you're not typing in it, just on your own paper or maybe in the notes on your phone. You can copy it, okay. And this did not take you 15 minutes yesterday. Talking about that a little.
Oh, no,
So.
That might be a way to do it too.
I think that's a good
So, and I think I'm fine.
If we get down here and we need to cut the internet, please, we can just cut that.
one. No, that was really interesting.
Oh,
So I'll take less time.
Yeah, we don't have to have them spend that much time on sharing out. You just call it a few or something. I always love doing these like self-tests. Well, I still do it. I'm used to it.
All right, and when you get to the end, you can see the instructions. Okay, raise your hand if you're still working to get your score. So when you think about procrastination, why do you think people procrastinate? Or wait, let me rewind. What's the feeling evoked by the word procrastination? Is it a good feeling? Bad feeling? It's a bad feeling, right? So when people say I procrastinate, everyone's like, right? It's not a good feeling. It's like anxiety, right? So it's associated with maladaptive behaviors, this like negative affect, negative mood, negative feeling. And so people procrastinate, why? So if it's bad, why do they do it? And I can say they, because it's not you, of course. Why? Why do you think people put stuff off? Intentionally delay.
So then,
Don't meet their deadlines. Oh, go ahead, sorry.
They're afraid they might fail, so they don't want to do it.
Yeah, exactly. Okay, so I talked to a lot of students, and I'll talk about interviews here in a second, but like one student I was talking to, a college student, and she was taking college algebra for the third time, failing it for the third time. And I said, so, when's your test? And she said, oh, I had a test today. And I said, okay, so what'd you do last night? She's like, well, it was a pretty day, so I decided to take my dog on a walk. Because she was worried about the outcome, right? So a lot of people procrastinate because they don't want the inevitable to happen. And if they can't, we want to protect ourselves. It's like protecting our ego. It's called self-handicapping. And we self-handicap and we intentionally kind of sabotage ourselves. So when we do fail, we're like, it's just because I took my dog on the walk, it ran out of time, right? Not because of me, not because I'm not smart, not because I can't do it. I just had these other things that kind of got in the way. So, but a lot of people do that. Maybe it's unintentional, maybe it's subconsciously, but they self-handicap on purpose. And that's really what procrastination is. So I don't know if you want to raise your hand or not, but so if you added up your score and you have a number less than 24, then you're on the procrastinate, or you're less likely to procrastinate. If your number is greater than that, then you're more of a procrastinator. So maybe put your head to the right if you're a procrastinator and to the left if you're not. You're less than 24. Okay, all right, so a few closer to procrastination. Okay, so we see procrastination as this negative thing, but all of us can admit that there are times that we have chosen to put things off, and especially a lot of gifted kids. I was a gifted education teacher, and a lot of gifted kids say, well, I put it off because I work best under pressure. And I bet some of you have said that. So kind of a side spin-off of procrastination research started when I was in graduate school, actually, and talking about something called active procrastination or intentional procrastination. And it's more adaptive. It's not maladaptive like procrastination. So now we're going to find out if you are an active procrastinator. There's only a few items. There's a lot fewer items. What are there? 7 or 8? 8. And this one is a little trickier. See if you can read the instructions and figure that out on your own. But same thing. Indicate the extent to which you agree or disagree with those 8 items. So maybe you procrastinate, but maybe it's on purpose. Too much time. Go down a little bit to the instructions. See, I feel like 2009, not long ago. We were in elementary school. Okay, so you'll see the instructions on the bottom. This one's a little trickier because I have some negatively worded items in there. So you're gonna have to convert your scores. So if you, for your odd, hopefully your numbers are all very different, unlike the first one where you might have had mostly like 1s and 2s or 4s and 5s. This one, your numbers should be all completely different. So you're gonna convert your odd scores and flip them, basically. So if you had a 4, you're gonna get a 2. If you had a 1,
So
you're
odd
gonna,
number statements, right?
yeah, so odd numbers. And then calculate a mean.
So wait, you flip them for every single one?
No, just the odd. So the odd number scores
Oh, okay.
are the opposite of the even number scores. So the even numbers are really more for procrastinators, odds are I don't procrastinate, so you're gonna flip them. And there's really 2 beliefs on Likert items. And as I've sent manuscripts off to publishers, no matter what I do, publisher or editor has negative criticism about the type of Likert scale I have chosen to use. Some people believe that you should not have any negatively worded statements. Some people believe that you should. So really it comes down to what you can justify utilizing, but the way that I was trained and taught was to include some negatively worded items because then the test taker, or whatever, the participant is forced to actually read the item and not just put 5 all the way down. So when you calculate the mean after you've converted your scores, if you're closer to a 5, like 3.5 and above, then you're an active procrastinator. If you are a 3.4 or lower, then you're a passive, then you're not an active procrastinator. So who wants to share? Raise your hand if you are a 3.5 or higher. You tend to put things off on purpose. Okay. So are you willing to share?
Sure, it's 4.375.
Wow. Okay. So tell me about that.
Um,
Is this a new discovery or are you like, of course?
Yeah.
You're like, yeah.
Yeah.
So you think, and I'm a psychologist, so I can like read your mind. You feel that if you can wait and do something like a couple hours before, you like get into the zone and you block everything else out and you just knock it out and it's like great work, you turn it in, you make a good grade.
Yeah.
Right? So there is a,
Even he had a higher score.
oh, what was your score?
I don't know if I did exactly right,
Oh.
but I got like right at 3.5.
Okay, well, that's good too. So that's definitely towards procrastinating on purpose. So there's a scholar named Chickamanskaya. I don't know where he was from. It's a very long, lots of Z's and Y's and everything in his name. And he coined a term called flow. And it's definitely something that most gifted students possess, where you can just block it out. And you think about like some of the famous painters, like would sit down and paint their entire painting in like 48 hours. Not eat, not sleep, nothing. And probably a lot of you are like that, right? You might get into something and you're like, oh my gosh, it's been 6 hours, right? I didn't even notice, right? I don't mean video games, but like a project or something you're thinking about or researching something on the internet or whatever. Okay.
Video games would be like 12 hours. Or
Right,
something like
yeah.
that, right?
So, but that's what active procrastination is. So you have found, you don't do it because you're, delaying the inevitable. You do it because you think it provides you, and maybe it has, right, at this point, provides you with a good outcome, right? I'm not a procrastinator. Maybe it's ironic that I study it, but I can't because it freaks me out and my mind's consumed with, oh my gosh, I'm in 20 more minutes the whole time. But for you, it works. And so it's opposite from the other type of procrastination that is associated with maladaptive outcomes, right? It's positive. So even though we're like, oh my gosh, I'm a procrastinator, it's good. For you, it's good. So I conducted this research study with college students. I was at University of Houston, so it wasn't here. And so we gathered, surveys. We gathered behavioral types of things, like when students were submitting to D2L, we looked at what time they submitted. Was it like 10 minutes before it was due? Or 2 days before it was due? Because I have students now, my students' work's due on Sunday. I have students that turned it in 3 days ago, right? Those students are like me. So that's convergent design. We're gathering lots of pieces of information all at once, and then we started interviewing students, which was kind of another phase of the study, and try to find out why. What is it? What's going on when you're choosing to delay? What's it like? What are your feelings, your beliefs, your moods, your attitudes the whole time, to really better understand what that is, so that as teachers, we know, like, it's okay. If you want to put it off, we need to make sure that it's not because you're afraid of the outcome, but because you've learned that this is the best thing for you. Okay, so that's one example of mixed methods. All right, go ahead.
So that one was when you're collecting both quantitative and qualitative data together to inform the research questions. But there are other models also, and one of the models is the explanatory study, in which you collect quantitative data, okay? You may collect quantitative data on, let's say, scores, okay? And you have this huge outlier group that you don't know, because quantitative is giving you great information, but it's not giving you the why of it, right? So then you take that group and do some qualitative on it, or you collect some open-ended questions, okay? Do an interview or focus group on. So that is where you are trying to explain that phenomena. So that's where the model comes from, is the explanatory design. And like one of the questions for that would be, what factors, internal and external, predict students' persistence in a program? I could take a quantitative survey of your persistence, how you perceive, and then actually follow it up with a focus group or something like that. Okay. The other one is the exploratory design, in which you first start with qualitative data, gathering thoughts, perspectives, ideas, all of those things. Now think about it, like if I talk about, let's say, confidence, I gather what are your thoughts about confidence, all of those things, and then I do quantitative. So that study is basically about like instrument development studies. So you will gather everything. What do you think about IQ? What do you think about those are two different areas, but what do you think about confidence and all of that stuff? And then actually develop a survey that gauges confidence. And you it'll be like something that you can like take a quiz survey out and decide how confident you are or anything like that. So something that would be is how do learners' demographic characteristics, enrollment, perceptions of instructional strategy relates to their course satisfaction. Okay, so that would be an exploratory study. The other one is embedded design. Embedded design is you are doing the quant and qual at the same time, but you are not doing you're doing quantitative on everybody, but qual on just a few little people. Okay, or you're doing qualitative on everybody and then quantitative only on a few little people. In the explanatory and exploratory, you collect one data, analyze it, and then do the other data. But in embedded, you do both of them together. You do both together in conversion, but you do it on the whole population. So do you see the differences that are happening in those different designs? So an embedded design would be what are student perception of what and how they learn in a co-op or in an engineering course. So I could do like this huge big group, but at the same time, I'm also like talking to them about it and collecting some data. The next one is transformative design. So the word transformative, that itself tells you transform. Okay. So this design is based on providing voice to the marginalized population. It is related to the issues of social justice, things like that. You're trying to advance them and do a study that provides reform for those marginalized population. And something like, how can I incorporate the voices of the members of community that have not traditionally had a seat when decisions of ethics are to be made? Okay, so you're trying to provide them a voice. So the last one is a multi-phase design. When you look at a multi-phase, that means multiple phases, right? So that's what it is. Basically, what you're doing is you're doing several phases. So you collect one data, you collect data, analyze it. Then you collect another data, analyze it. Then you collect another data, analyze it. So you're using the data from this to inform what other data collection. So you're doing multiple phases of data collection. And one of the examples of that research question, what classroom factors cause students to engage at a college level? That's a huge study, several steps to it. And I think Dr. Lind, you've done a study on college engagement.
Yeah, so
right?
that's when I started here at Midwestern, we were trying to, I had a colleague who said she had students who really weren't engaging in her class, like they would just sit there, but they weren't participating. She tried all kinds of activities and different kinds of things and it wasn't effective. And so we said, well, let's figure out what's gonna engage them. And how about we ask the students? So we started out with qualitative and we did focus groups. And we said, tell us what makes you engage. What happens in class that causes you to engage? And we thought they were going to say things like fun activities, participating, discussions. But instead, students told us, and this was way back in like 2010, I'm sure that you haven't changed much, but they said, the professor cares. The professor's interesting. The professor's approachable. The professor's kind. The professor calls on us. Right? Things like that. It was these kind of touchy-feely things. And so from that data, right, that qualitative phase, we developed an instrument. So we found like themes across all the student responses in the focus groups. And we had, we developed a Likert scale. And then we administered that to a lot of students, had them take it, find out their engagement levels. And then to further test it, we did a qualitative component again, and we had students take it in a class. And then we had observers come and observe behaviors of students to see if it was kind of matching up with what their responses were. And then observe behaviors of professors. Did the professors demonstrate caring? Did the professors demonstrate approachability, et cetera? And so it was this multi-phase trying to really hash out what engages students. And we got to the point that we were like, well, a lot of it comes down to personality, which is kind of hard to teach. It's easy for me to tell people, oh, just do some more projects. Let me help you come up with fun slides. But it's a lot harder for me to teach someone to demonstrate caring and compassion and approachability and that type of thing, right? So, but that's all the different phases. So, and this is what we've been talking about to this point is pretty much all the different types of like big research that we as education researchers conduct. But teachers conduct research daily, multiple times a day. And probably like in the healthcare industry and even in other fields too, you'll conduct research essentially. Now you're not getting participants and signing waivers and analyzing data. A lot of it's just kind of like at this minor level. So in the classroom, we do something called action research, and Dr. Gupta is going to talk a lot more about that. But teachers want to find out information. They want it, they should. So they all do, they probably don't all do. But teachers should want to continually improve, right? Gather data from students and then change their practices to help students, do better. So I have done a couple of research studies with students in Eureka. I do a lot of Eureka research studies, and so does Dr. Gupta and Dr. Miller too. But I had a student who was a biology teacher. She was in her clinical teaching, which is kind of like the internship at the end. And she said, the way I learned biology, we just sat there and memorized a lot of information. And I want to know that whether my change in course design, and I have students really like build models and do projects and really engage with science, is going to alter their engagement beliefs, their beliefs about engaging and their academic outcomes and that as well. So that's what she wanted to do. And so she monitored one class where she taught kind of traditionally the way she learned, and then another class where she taught with projects and stuff, and found that students who really engaged in science much more, learned more and participated more, had better grades, better academic outcomes, etc. We also will monitor students' affect, looking at just looking at students. Are they bored? Are they frustrated? Are they excited? And we make those split decisions about changing. You know what, guys? Let's switch gears. I can tell y'all are wearing out. So that's monitoring students' affect and looking at how they feel and participate and things like that.
Okay, so action research. Action research is what Dr. Lind was just talking about, is making actionable choices, actionable decisions based on the data. Okay, so it is action research is one way that you empower a classroom teacher to make reflective choices, make decisions and why is it important? Obviously, we all are students, right? Like a professor of yours did this assignment and they were like, okay, this assignment was too difficult or did not match something else, they're going to change it, right? They're being researchers in their own way. But this is more of a practitioner research. You're doing it related to your practice. Okay, so this chart, what we wanted to share with you guys was just to tell you how the movement of action research is going about. First, when it actually started, it wasn't required, like the in-service club. The district would say, do it and all that. And if you look at the end of it, it is nowadays teacher-initiated research studies. Like, come on, our teachers are not only working with remote student, face-to-face students, but they're also being researchers. They're trying to do research in their classrooms. They are planning, they're acting, they're observing, they're analyzing all of those facets that are needed for good research. Okay, let's do this. I want you guys to think about what would action research look like in your field. Okay, do you think we can move these?
Yeah.
Okay, so what would action research look in your area and what would impact that action research have in your field? So just take about 30 seconds to think about it. Few more seconds left. Counting to one. All right, so now I want you to turn to a partner and share about the action research in your field. What does it look? Please keep your distances, okay, as you talk to your partner, okay? Yeah, I did say distances. Keep your distance and talk to your partner. Share with them what does it look like in your field.
Yeah, so it's how you make those like moment decisions, like teachers will be like, you know what, let's reteach this. Because they've gathered information that's not working, so they're like, let's try something else. So what's your field? What is it? Nursing, okay, so are you on your field? Okay. So definitely in healthcare, right? You walk in, you see a patient, you know, they've got some kind of thing, you're like, let's try this. You know, let them calm down, like take some breaths, come back in when they're worse. Then you gotta make a change, right? So, and I think nursing is a good thing in healthcare, so it's education, right? You're a teacher too, just in a different capacity. You're teaching people about what to do, it's the same thing. You give them instructions, I want you to go home, I want you to try these things, they come back, it hasn't worked. Now you're gonna try medicine, or you're gonna try, you know, some other kind of technique. So that's what actually, you're not conducting a whole study, but you're just doing research, essentially, right? Gathering information. And for engineering, same thing, it's a lot of, you try something, it doesn't work, you know, I want to speed it up, right? So you try something and like, you're like, I know this, like, what if we switch the cogs from, you know, steel to aluminum? You know, it's not gonna be as strong, but, I'm trying to brush up on my engineering right here. I mean, like, a but, you know, we're gonna try aluminum, you know, it's lighter, so it's gonna be quicker, and this might just thin, so it can less often, but maybe the cost is worth it, because we're efficient, and so that's what it is, like trial and error. All right, so you'll come up with another example. I already gave you some answers.
Okay, so how about
What's your field?
oh, okay.
Are you trying that? So like in healthcare, I think it's easy. You see a patient, you give them a diagnosis, you give them a treatment, they go away, and they come back. And in mechanical engineering, like you try to improve efficiency in some type of thing. Yeah, you replace the steel cog with the aluminum cog and see, does it improve efficiency or does it break you? So it's a split sector. It's not like official research where you have all these, but it's this way. Yeah, so we're really right, gathering data, like you know, hypothesis, implementing it, analyzing it, and then maybe redoing it. That's what teachers focus on. I mean, that's being a good practitioner anyway. Constant, like,
I'm not sure the requirements for that stuff.
Yeah, we were doing more into
Yeah, I guess
Okay, we are going to go ahead and share out. So take one example from your group discussion, like your partner discussion, and share out where you see action research in the field, in your field. So come on, somebody share. Yes, please. Thank you, sir.
So like whenever we're doing like we're trying to make like a part more efficient or like the system more efficient.
So you're engineering major?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay.
So if we go through there and we find the efficiency and if one like say aluminum, we add it and make it more efficient than say steel, we learn from that and we were able to kind of keep going and finding the most efficient metal for that system.
That's an excellent example because you're changing the material every single time to find out like what is its impact on efficiency, right? Okay, that's a great example. Anybody else? Thank you. Yes,
I feel like psychology as a whole is just action research, but I guess the
she would
most-
agree.
Yeah, I feel like the most specific adaptation of it would be like cognitive therapy. You have a client come in and say, hey, I've been doing X, Y, Z, and I feel A, B, C. And then you say, okay, well then let's try CBD. You know, like you take it and say, well, this obviously isn't working for you, let's try this instead.
Yes, absolutely. So you're trying new, whatever works for them is what you're trying to figure out by trying different methodologies. Excellent. All right, other people, come on. Other people. I know you guys had a good discussion.
Nursing.
All right, go for it.
I mean, it's just patients' reactions to different treatments, I guess.
Mm-hmm.
You could be, you could give them certain type of medication, constantly getting worse, so you gotta make that split decision and just change it all up and hope for the best, I guess.
All right. Excellent the fact that you said that the patient's getting worse, the patient's not getting better. Because if you were looking at it from the pharmaceutical point of view, then it would have become an experimental study, right? But if you're looking in your workplace, like even small little thing as maybe the patient getting out of bed for this many times is working or is not working and things like that. So that's a great example. All right, let's take two more. Somebody, come on. I know you guys are dying to answer.
With radiology, like getting the correct positioning for imaging, knowing what works best for certain things. But sure, there's a set amount of positions you can do, but also making sure that you know for like a situation you haven't had to deal with before, knowing how to try it. Something different.
Very good, very nice. That's a great example. All right, accounting people. I know you guys want to share.
I know for a fact, like the accounting software, they're constantly updating to make the best of the business, because sometimes what happens is the older software, they're not suited to the updates that we have now, or sometimes it's not an accountant that created the software, so they're not aware of certain things that happen, like from the tax return. So now you have, like for example, I'm an accounting agent, so now we are able to develop the database more suitable for the accounting needs, as opposed to somebody that never did accounting and don't know how best to suit the needs of the business.
Excellent. So you're making those choices based on the needs of it, and you're trying different softwares which would work the best for you. Excellent. Is there any degree major that we haven't covered in this class? We get radiology, nursing, accounting, engineering. Yes. Psychology.
Yeah, and I think one common thing that you've mentioned is listening to people, right? So, in education, that's in psychology, we're used to listening to people. But one thing, like you said, in accounting, talking to the people who are the users. What do you need? What's working? What's not working, right? The patients, is this effective or not, right? Patient compliance is a big deal. And I know there's a lot of research, even from psychology, looking at patient compliance. I've given you these things to do. It doesn't seem to be working, right? How can we alter this to make it more efficient? And same thing with, engineering or anything else, but really gathering that data. So it doesn't have to be like a formal research study all the time. Good practice is conducting this research of hypothesizing, gathering information. Did it work? Yes or no? And then revisiting it.
And there are very formal, very in-depth action research also out there.
Yes.
Okay, but we're talking more on the scale. Okay, so the next thing that we're going to be talking about is data literacy. So literally from the word, data informs your decisions. You're going to take the information from the research, collecting, analyzing research, and interpreting all the data to make actionable instruction items, actionable instruction decisions. Okay, so if we think about it, think about the test, the STAR test or the tax test. You're taking the data from there, you're interpreting and analyzing it to make actions for the next school year. How do we need to do? What do we need to do for the students? What do we need to do over there, right? So you're doing all of those things. It's basically, data literacy is basically about you being able to read, write and analyze data for making instructional decisions. We wanted to bring in this, just get you guys familiar because data literacy is coming, it's a lot of talk, okay? The data literacy also, you must have heard about big data and all of those things that are coming up. That is part of it. It's you're taking those big data and making decisions about it. And this is in the education field with the data literacy. All right, so let's move forward.
I was gonna say, this is one thing that I teach classroom assessment, and I'm teach now, actually, my students working on it this week, but looking at the results of the big standardized tests and making decisions about it. So it's important that students learn how to look at the data and then what to do about it. And that's what teachers, definitely a lot of teachers are looking at, or should be looking at.
And so one of the big things that the teachers do is they do classroom assessments, right? We all do classroom assessments to take that data and interpret as to what our students know and don't know. So today, you guys are going to be taking a assessment on animals. How many of you know stuff about animals? Oh, ooh, you have competition.
Yeah, you don't know as much as me.
She worked in the Dallas Zoo for a long
Fort Worth.
So Fort Worth Zoo. And she owns a farm and she has chickens. I don't think you guys can. I don't think.
You do
own chickens? Ooh.
Oh, you did. Okay, so if you go to, so we're getting, what, in the classroom, what we do all the time is we conduct assessments, then we look at the data. So we're gonna demonstrate that and have you take a quiz. So if you go to the other tab under more.
It'll be on the side for them.
Yeah, on the Google site.
No. It'll be on the side 3 lines for them because they're on their phone. So it looks different
Oh,
on the
okay.
phone. So just tell them to go.
The 3 lines, and then you see this guy and click on knowledge about animals. It's just a quick Google form. No worries if you don't know it, but we'll give you about 2 or 3 minutes.
Yes.
Pictures, that guy cracks me up.
The whole one cracks me up. It's so complicated. I'm so used to it. I keep forgetting that I have to and once I see them, I was like, shoot. I still have to get used to it. I can't open the way around here just to check.
Hope you guys are finishing up.
No.
We already talked about that.
I do think that compensation for having Dr. Miller is the one that she's really good about finding pictures.
I
love
that.
He's just saying it out loud.
They just help him
Give some emotional connection, distress going on that's preventing you. It's been.
All right, we're gonna look at
Who
the.
needs more time?
Wait, do you have to put your initials?
I mean, it just put fake initials. It doesn't matter because we're just gonna pull it out. I already have it pulled out. It's under here. I hate that. This right here. Yeah, you can drag that. Let me get to it then. I don't know why it's not working on. All right, so hopefully we will help you. No, that's not where it is though. Hopefully we'll help you to learn a little something. Like I said, I have, it's not this one, is it? Oh, man, what the hell is this? Dang.
Yeah, go from that and then
How
see
did
the
you do?
responses.
That's what's under your name.
Okay. So as teachers, right, what we do is interaction research is we're constantly gathering information. So if I was a science teacher and I was about to teach about animals, this would be a good type of assessment to give to find out, what do I need to spend more time on? What do I not need to spend time on, right? Because no one hates it more when you're like having to sit there forever and hear something you already know, right? So what's awesome about technology assessments is we can get that data right away. It helps us right away to make changes. It helps you when you're like, oh crap, I'm the only one that answered that one wrong. I should probably study a little more, right? So just kind of looking at this, what's great about Google and a lot of the other online assessments is they'll tell you, this is the most frequently missed question. So this is one to spend time on. Or these students are the ones who miss the most. Maybe these are students to kind of help or focus on. So whether this is something given at the beginning or something at the end, it's helpful as an educator. So go down, we'll look at a few of them. So obviously this first one, everyone got it, thank goodness, right? This would be one we don't need to spend time on. An echidna, right, is a marsupial. What else is a marsupial? Good. The other class didn't know that. Y'all must be smarter. Okay, so they are birth live, but then they crawl into their mother's pouch. Who else has a pouch? Okay. Reptile, thank goodness you got that one. That was like second grade or something. 2 types of elephants, all right, most of you, right? Africans have the big ears. Asians have smaller ears. Asians, I think both male and female have tusks. Africans, only the males. And then a prehensile appendage. Ooh, that's a tough word. What's prehensile? Right? So do you have it? Or can you grab onto things? Yeah. Okay. So who can't? A dog, right? What's an elephant's prehensile appendage? They have over 100,000 muscles in a trunk. Amazing. That's one of my fun facts. And obviously humans. So a mule is a male horse and female donkey. What do you get if you have a female horse and a male donkey? It's called a jinny. I know. Whales have gills. Another fun fact, right? They don't. A lot of insects. That's kind of scary, huh? I found a scorpion in my house yesterday and a tick. So I'm looking forward to winter and that stuff dying off. The fastest animal, cheetah, thank goodness. Another like first grade, like that's how you impressed people when you were in kindergarten. And then stomachs on a cow. I have cows, but they have all the different stomachs that do all the different digestion. So click on the Google, click on the spreadsheet.
Spreadsheet.
So what we do as teachers is you can click on something like this and immediately know who answered what score did students have, what should you focus on, how should you change. If this was an assessment after teaching, I'd be like, oh gosh, okay, I need to help, KG and BT and M, L or whatever, right? They need some help. They didn't do quite as well, okay? So any questions? I know we're about out of time. Did you learn something about education research, about animals? Well, thank you all so much for your attention and your participation.
And thank you for having us in your classroom. We really enjoyed it. Clap after every class. They better do that, right? Thank you, guys.
You didn't see this? Huh? You didn't see this? You went out.
Have a good weekend.
Thank you. I'll go.
I'll go this way.
You want to do this side? I'll do this side.
Sorry, it took a few minutes longer. Thank you for your.
I live in Alford and it's also black and gold.
Hashtag warlords or whatever the heck we did.
Warbirds, we were the Eagles.